Sanibonani, dumelang, absheng, bonjour, habari, mulibwanji, makadini, hello. Welcome to my secret garden. My name is Vuyi, and yeah, if it's your first time here, welcome. I'm glad you discovered the secret. And if you are a returning gardener, yay, thank you for coming back and for giving me your precious time and energy. I know that it's been a while since I've shown my face on the channel. In the garden, the last couple of videos have been mostly audio and images. A lot has been moving in my world, and you know, some videos ago I was sharing about how there will be times when we're on the narrow road with the Most High God will have us on our knees and in the desert, and there is nothing that we can do about it. We just need to be there and learn the lessons that are there for us. Sometimes it feels like our knees are scraping, or it feels like our throat is being cut because in our knee we need water, we're so thirsty, but we can't seem to find it. We just have to keep on keeping on that road, trusting that a fountain or a river will appear so that we can finally quench our thirst from the thirst that we are feeling, right? That there will be times when there are few friends or no friends, that there is a little money or no money, that there is little to no hope. But I've always believed that that is for a reason. There is a reason for every season, and in those seasons where we are kneeling, we are being taught and sown, right, how to kneel with our hearts, how to trust and have unwavering faith, but also to test our character, to build our character, to fine-tune our parts, right, like the diamond. We know that analogy, or the caterpillar and the process that it has to go through. We as humans will continuously go through those processes, and there's something about being in those times that is also grace, if we'll allow ourselves to surrender to it. And so I found myself at a spring, and I have been drinking the water that I encountered. Obviously, I like to speak in riddles. That's just how it goes. But I have encountered an oasis and an abundance in ways that I could never have imagined. And that's the thing about being in the flow, is that the flow is calling for us, and once we're in the flow, then the things can flow to us and. But I digress. During this time of discovering an oasis and drinking the water, I met some beautiful people along my journey, new friends and collaborators, and one such friend loaned me this book, and this book is called Illusions, and it's so special, and when I was reading it, I kept thinking about you. So the book is Illusions, The Adventures of the Reluctant Messiah by Richard Bach. So what I wanted to do was just read the introductory to you, and I will then also towards the end just share some of the quotes that stood out for me. But it's such a good book, and try and find myself a copy, but I wanted to share some of it. I'm sorry, I don't know, I got onto this recording and my nose started itching. I don't know what that means, but anyway, we'll push through. So just don't ignore me if I keep. So it goes. Number 1. There was a master come onto the earth, born in the holy land of Indiana, raised in the mystical hills east of Fort Wayne. Number 2. The master learned of this world in the public schools of Indiana, and as he grew in his trade as a mechanic of automobiles. 3. But the master had learnings from other lands and other schools, from other lives that he had lived. He remembered these, and remembering became wise and strong, so that others saw his strength and came to him for counsel. 4. The master believed that he had power to help himself and all mankind, and as he believed, so it was for him, so that others saw his power and came to him to be healed of their troubles and their many diseases. 5. The master believed that it was well for any man to think upon himself as a son of God, and as he believed, so it was. And the shops and garages where he worked became crowded and jammed with those who sought his learning and his touch, and the streets outside with those who longed only that the shadow of his passing might fall upon them and change their lives. 6. It came to pass, because of the crowds, that the several foremen and shop managers bid the master leave his tools and go his way, for so tightly was he thronged that neither he nor other mechanics had room to work upon the automobiles. 7. So it was that he went into the countryside, and people following began to call him Messiah and worker of miracles, and so they believed it was so. 8. If a storm passed as he spoke, not a raindrop touched a listener's head. The last of the multitude heard his words as clearly as the first, no matter lightning nor thunder in the sky about, and always he spoke to them in parables. And he said unto them, within each of us lies the power of our consent to health and to sickness. To riches and to poverty, to freedom and to slavery. It is we who control these and not another. 10. A millman spoke and said, easy words for you, master, for you are guided as we are not, and need not toil as we toil. A man has to work for his living in this world. 11. The master answered and said, once there lived a village of creatures along the bottom of a great crystal river. 12. The current of the river swept silently over them all, young and old, rich and poor, good and evil. The current going its own way, knowing only its crystal self. 13. Each creature in its own manner clung tightly to the twigs and rocks of the river bottom, for clinging was their way of life, and resisting the current, what each had learned from birth. 14. But one creature said at last, I am tired of clinging. Though I cannot see it with my eyes, I trust that the current knows where it is going. I shall let go and let it take me where it will. Clinging, I shall die of boredom. 15. The other creatures laughed and said, fool, let go, and that current you worship will throw you tumbled and smashed across the rocks, and you will die quieter than boredom. 16. But the one heeded them not, and taking a breath did let go, and at once was tumbled and smashed by the current across the rocks. Yet, 17, in time, as the creature refused to cling again, the current lifted him free from the bottom, and he was bruised and hurt no more. 18. And the creatures downstream, to whom he was a stranger, cried, "See a miracle! A creature like ourselves, yet he flies. See the Messiah, come to save us all." 19. And the one carried in the current said, "I am no Messiah than you. The river delights to lift us free, if only we dare let go. Our true work is this voyage, this adventure." 20. But they cried the more, "Savior," all the while clinging to the rocks, and where they looked again, he was gone. They were left alone making legends of the Savior. And it came to pass, 21, when he saw that the multitude thronged him the more day on day, tighter and closer and fiercer than ever they had, when he saw that they pressed him to heal them without rest and feed them always with his miracles, to learn for them and to live their lives, he went about that day unto a hilltop, and there he prayed. 22. And he said in his heart, "Infinite, radiant is, if it be thy will, let this cup pass from me. Let me lay aside this impossible task. I cannot live the life of one other soul, yet 10,000 cried to me for life. I'm so sorry I allowed it all to happen. If it be thy will, let me go back to my engines and my tools, and let me live as other men." 23. And a voice spoke to him on the hilltop, a voice neither male nor female, nor soft, a voice infinitely kind. And the voice said unto him, "Not my will, but thine be done. For what is thy will is mine for thee. Go thy way as other men, and be thy happy on earth." 24. And hearing the master was glad, and gave thanks, and came down from the hilltop, humming a little mechanic song. And when the throng pressed him with its woes, beseeching him to heal for it, and learn for it, and feed it non-stop from his understanding, and to entertain it with his wonders, he smiled upon the multitude, and said pleasantly unto them, "I quit." 25. For a moment the multitude was stricken dumb with astonishment. 26. And he said unto them, "If the man told God that he wanted most of all to help the suffering world, no matter the price to himself, and God answered and told him what he must do, should the man do as he told?" 27. "Of course, Master," cried the many. "It should be pleasure for him to suffer the tortures of hell itself, should God ask it." 28. "No matter what those tortures, know how difficult the task." 29. "Honor to be hanged, glory to be nailed to a tree, and burned, if so be that God has asked," said they. 30. "And what would you do?" the master said unto the multitude, "if God spoke directly to your face and said, 'I command that you be happy in the world as long as you live,' what would you do then?" 31. And the multitudes were silent. Not a voice, not a sound was heard upon the hillsides across the valleys where they stood. And the master said unto the silence, "In the path of our happiness shall we find the learning for which we have chosen this lifetime. So it is that I learned this day, and choose to leave you now to walk your own path as you please." And he went his way through the crowds and left them, and he returned to the everyday world of men. and mechanics. So this is just the introduction, and I love that it's written in what looks like the author's handwriting, and the rest of the book is then typed. But it struck me so much, and the reason why I wanted to share it is because I think sometimes as empathic people, as sensitive people, as people who are seeking purpose, who ask ourselves the question often, why am I here? What am I here to do? How do I serve? And I know that I bore that cross for so long. I carried it at the expense of sometimes my health, my happiness, my intuition. And it's only been in the last couple of years that I have really began to accept the fact that I have not necessarily come here. Actually, let me just say it straight. I have not come here to be the cross and burden for other people, but instead I came here as the soul being. My soul came here to express itself in this dimension, in this reality, in which is the only place in which we can be human. So my soul came here to remember itself, to know itself, to enhance and expand itself. And this happens in many ways. It happens through the ways in which I have a relationship with my body. How I am relearning to truly look after myself, to stretch my body and move it when it needs to feed my body healthy foods, to listen to it, to sleep when I need to listen to it. And sometimes not to sleep, and understanding that there are lessons in that as well, where you haven't slept for so long that you enter a different kind of consciousness and receive something else. All of it is valid, right? And knowing that even when I or we are facing addiction, or we are struggling with certain things, or we have anxiety, or we are confused, that is part of the experience. That is it. It's not about the water. Sometimes it's about the thirst. You see, the light follows the dark, right? The good follows the bad follows the good. And all of them are invitations for us to know ourselves, to remember ourselves, and to fill ourselves up. And in so doing, seeing our own beauty, filling our own cup, so that the abundance that spills over is the one in which we give to people, not the deficit in which we were taught to draw from, in which we often operate from, despite how hard it might be, how painful it might be, And I don't think there's anything cute or admirable or honorable or sexy about selling yourself short and about killing yourself in order to be accepted, to be liked. The truth is that we have to like ourselves. We have to be able to live with ourselves, to move with ourselves. And the human journey is such a sacred and beautiful thing, because like I always say, who said this? I don't know which master said this, but we are all masters, right? That only in this reality that we can taste ice cream or burgers or sushi or ngqushu or ulusu, That it's also within this dimension that we're able to make love and to listen to a music song, an amazing song, and dance and move our bodies and know our bodies. It is in this dimension that we can know breath and more than just breathing, but this infinite channel to all that is, right? This medicine that can make things straight again, So that is what I wanted to share with you today, is that you are a master, and the page on which you are on today is the page you're meant to be on. and you can change it at any time. You can erase it if you want to. But there is nothing fundamentally wrong with anything that you're doing because you're here to learn. And within it, maybe you've chosen it. And by accepting it and embracing it, it can liberate you into the next thing. But you cannot get to the fountain, we cannot get to the oasis if we haven't moved through the desert. You know, we can't say how long we'll be in the desert for, but there is beauty there also. So I'm just going to randomly open the page I just did with this one and read you some of the just short excerpts, quotes. So that's what I'm going to read for you before I head out. It's been a long day, but I thought, hey, let me hang out with the gardeners for a little bit. There is no such thing as a problem without a gift for you in its hands. You seek problems because you need their gifts. You are never given a wish without also being given the power to make it true. You may have to work for it, however. Should we do two more? We do two more, three more. My spirit says three. Okay. If you will practice being fictional for a while, you will understand that fictional characters are sometimes more real than people with bodies and heartbeats. Let that sink in. Every person, all the events of your life are there because you have drawn them there. What you choose to do with them is up to you. So, this is the last one. Perspective. Use it or lose it. If you turned to this page, you're forgetting that what is going on around you is not reality. Think about that. Remember where you came from, where you're going, and why you created the mess you got yourself into in the first place. You're going to die a horrible death, remember. It's all good training, and you'll enjoy it more if you keep the facts in mind. Take your dying with some seriousness, however. Laughing on the way to your execution is not generally understood by less advanced life forms, and they'll call you crazy. And of course, we know that it's not death in that way. Horrible death, die a horrible death. We know that being an outlier or taking the road less traveled or following the invisible star, we know that all of these things aren't necessarily easy for us to attain. And sometimes we have to die horrible deaths while we're alive, ego deaths, spiritual deaths, all these things, in order for us to bring life back into perspective. But at the end of the day, you're the master. You are on the road, you chose it. And that's valid. It's all valid. And it doesn't have to look like somebody else. Thank you for being here. I will see you soon. Let me know if you've read this book. Tell us which part of it was your favorite. But it's such a good book. Yeah, that's me. Otherwise, I missed you. I love you. And remember that this is all an illusion. It's a game you chose to play, and it's just a character. So set yourself free. Yabulela.
wena awukhona zakholela kuthixo zikhona zakholela izilanya khona zikhona ngoba wena ngutata wam ngutata omkhulu wam endiva ngutata